Have you ever wondered if the real obstacle to receiving what you long for, love, peace, success, lies not outside of you, but within? What if the hidden barrier is the quiet belief that you don't truly deserve it? Here's the paradox. The more you chase what you lack, the further it drifts away. But the moment you turn inward, embrace yourself with compassion, and allow self-love to settle into your being, life begins to flow toward you in ways you never imagined. Buddha once said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." Yet the world has trained us differently. From childhood, we are taught to seek approval from others, to prove our worth through recognition, status, or validation. Buddhism gently reminds us of a greater truth. The outer world is a mirror, reflecting how we treat ourselves. If your heart is filled with self-doubt and restlessness, what you attract will echo that desperation. But when you cultivate respect and tenderness for your own soul, the reflection changes. The world begins to meet you with the same grace you offer yourself. So pause and ask, what is your energy radiating right now? Are you silently pleading for acceptance, or are you standing calmly in your own dignity? In this journey, we'll explore timeless Buddhist teachings that show how self-love isn't vanity or selfishness, it's the root of freedom, clarity, and transformation. And stay with me until the end, because I'll share a powerful spiritual truth that few ever recognize. Yet once you see it, everything shifts. This channel exists as a sanctuary for wisdom. Each video is not just content. It's an invitation to step through a doorway into stillness, clarity, and awakening. If you're ready, let's begin with Lesson 1. Lesson 1. Chasing is born from self-doubt. Have you noticed that the harder you chase something, the further it seems to slip away? Whether it's love, peace, or success, pursuit often makes these things feel like shadows close enough to see, yet impossible to hold. Buddhism explains this through a subtle truth. When the heart is restless, life cannot settle into it. The one who runs endlessly after the world forgets the stillness from which all things move. Picture this. A butterfly rests on your palm. If you clench your fist or reach too quickly, it flies away. But if you remain calm, gentle, and open, it may stay or even return. This is the same with your desires. When you reach from fear or lack, life senses the desperation and recoils. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it reflects the vibration of your own energy. Fear, even when disguised as ambition, creates resistance. We've been taught to hustle, strive, and chase endlessly. Yet Buddhist wisdom invites us to another way, the path of stillness. Stillness is not passivity, it is presence. It is the quiet confidence of one who no longer begs the world to prove their worth. When you root yourself in self-love, the chasing dissolves. You no longer demand proof of your value, you become the living proof. And in that state, what you once chased begins to move toward you naturally. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your desires not as mountains you must climb, but as lotus petals floating on still water. Watch them drift closer, not because you strain, but because you remain anchored. When the waters of the mind are calm, they reflect even the moon with clarity. Perhaps what you are pursuing is not what your soul truly seeks. Perhaps it is not the outcome, but the part of you that feels unworthy, that longs for healing. Can you sit quietly with that part of yourself? Can you cradle it in compassion instead of running from it? Buddhism teaches that suffering doesn't come from what we lack, but from believing we must earn what was already ours to begin with. The moment you love yourself, not for who you might become tomorrow, but for who you already are today, peace begins to rise within you. And peace is magnetic. It does not push or pull. It simply draws life toward it, like a flame that attracts moths. The irony is this. When you stop chasing, you start receiving. Why? Because the universe is not responding to your words or actions as much as it responds to your vibration. The frequency of self-love has no need to demand. It allows, It does not beg, it radiates. And what radiates naturally attracts. Remember this truth. You are not empty. You are not waiting to be filled. You are the vessel life longs to enter. When you recognize your own wholeness, the world no longer feels like it must complete you. It simply mirrors the fullness already within. And if you doubt this, reflect on a simple law. Wholeness attracts, wounds repel. Not because you are broken, but because unhealed places distort the energy you send out. Imagine pouring water into a cracked bowl, it leaks, no matter how much you add. In the same way, you can collect praise, possessions, or relationships, but if your inner self-belief is fractured, the joy will sweep away. You may wonder, why do I keep attracting the same disappointments, the same emptiness wearing different masks? The answer is rarely outside, it lives within. Until you see yourself as worthy, you will keep calling in experiences that echo your doubts. But healing is possible. Visualize your soul as that cracked bowl. Now imagine golden light pouring into its lines, sealing them with brilliance. In Japan, there is an art called kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with veins of gold. Not to hide the cracks, but to honor them. The breaks are not erased, they are illuminated. In the same way, your pain is not your shame, it is your teacher. When you embrace your cracks with love, they become part of your beauty, glowing as reminders of your resilience. Lesson 2. Wholeness draws in, wounds push away. Pause for a moment and ask yourself honestly, are you creating from a place of pain or from a place of peace? Because life doesn't respond to the words you say, it responds to the energy you carry. If deep inside you whisper, I am not enough, the world echoes back with experiences that confirm that belief. But if you begin, even gently, even imperfectly, to rest in the truth that you are already enough, your reality begins to soften and shift. Not in an instant, but gradually, like the slow warmth of sunlight dissolving morning mist. The Buddha reminded us, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. This isn't just poetry, it is a practice, a living strategy. Self-love becomes power, not because it forces the world to bend to your will, but because it changes the way you meet life. It transforms what you expect, what you allow, and what you silently invite into your circle. Let your energy speak before your words do. Let it radiate calm instead of desperation. Imagine your presence carrying a quiet message. I no longer chase or plead. I simply welcome. The world rarely answers to grasping hands, but it always listens to open palms. Wholeness is magnetic. When you begin to heal, even in small steps, you are no longer begging life to complete you. You are showing life that you already stand complete. And here is the truth many forget. You are not too broken to attract beauty. Your cracks do not cancel your worth. You are already luminous, simply waiting to believe it. The universe is not testing you, nor withholding blessings until you prove yourself. It is reflecting back what you carry within. So when you choose love for yourself exactly as you are, you change the frequency you live on. And when your frequency changes, so does your experience of the world. Lesson 3. The magnetic power of stillness. Why is it that silence often reveals more truth than shouting ever could? Because in stillness, something timeless awakens. Like a lantern glowing quietly in the night, the calm soul draws what is seeking light, not through demand, not through noise, but simply by shining. In Buddhism, stillness is not weakness. It is not retreat. It is alignment with the deeper current of life. When you release the frantic need to be chosen, when you no longer shout to be heard, your energy becomes clear, and life naturally begins to respond. We live in a culture that rewards volume. The loudest voices grab the spotlight. The boldest gestures seem to win. Yet beneath appearances, the universe does not bend to noise. It bends to vibration, to clarity, to presence. Stillness is not laziness, nor is it avoidance. It is the presence of inner order. It is the state where thought slows, grasping loosens, and the heart rests. In that rest, a quiet magnetism rises. You no longer draw others because you strive, but because you are finally aligned with the rhythm of existence. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the breath move through you like gentle ripples across a still pond. There is nothing to fix right now, nothing to prove. Just being here is enough. And in that simple being, power emerges. A power that does not chase validation, a power that speaks without words. So often people ask, why do I feel unseen despite all my effort? The answer is rarely in the effort itself, it is in the energy beneath it. Where in your life are you loud only because you fear being ignored? That noise may be masking the wound of unworthiness. But here's the deeper invitation. What would shift if you trusted your presence more than your performance? Consider this. A flower blooms in silence, yet bees still find it. A mountain does not move, yet the clouds circle around it. Stillness is not the absence of power. It is power in its purest form. Because when you are still, your vibration becomes unmistakable. The right people, the right opportunities, the right moments flow to you, not because you chase them, but because your calm signaled trust. You do not need to shout to be understood. You do not need to beg to be loved. You need only to return to the calm within you, the calm that already knows its worth. That inner calm is your truest magnet. When you release the desperate performance, you radiate a light that cannot be denied. Remember, stillness does not make you invisible. It makes you undeniable. And when you love yourself enough to stand still, the world cannot help but recognize your presence. Lesson 4. Detachment is the highest form of faith. Can you hold a dream in your heart and still remain at peace if it never arrives? This is the essence of detachment. It is not the denial of desire, nor the coldness of indifference. It is the warm trust that what belongs to you will find its way without force. In Buddhist wisdom, detachment is reverence, an honoring of life's rhythm, a quiet knowing that water flows best when it is not dammed. So often, we grip our desires until they cannot breathe. We cling to relationships, to outcomes, to timelines, believing our control will protect them. Yet the tighter the hold, the more resistance arises. It is not the dream that suffocates, but the fear that disguises itself as love. And wherever fear takes the lead, peace is pushed aside. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your desire as a butterfly resting on your open palm. You could trap it by closing your fingers, but instead, you choose to breathe and remain open. If it flies away, you let it go, not because you do not care, but because you trust. Trust that what is meant for you is carried on a current deeper than time, distance, or circumstance. Trust that life is wiser than your grip. Detachment whispers, I have planted the seed. I do not dig it up each morning to check if it grows. It is the wisdom to act when needed, and the grace to step back when it is time to surrender. For surrender is not weakness, it is space. It is faith stretched wide enough to hold the unknown. Ask yourself, what in your life are you squeezing too tightly? A person, a plan, an identity you feel pressured to become? Can you love without clinging, dream without desperation, strive without suffering? The Buddha taught, you only lose what you cling to. It is not letting go that brings pain. It is the resistance to letting go. When you soften your grip, peace enters, energy clears, life begins to breathe again. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you care enough to give things freedom to grow. It means your faith has become stronger than your fear. You are worthy of beautiful things. But do not make your joy a prisoner of outcomes. Root your happiness in presence, not in possession. In this way, you become steady, able to want without grasping, able to walk with desire yet unshaken by delay. Detachment is not indifference. It is deep trust. And when you trust, life unfolds with a grace far greater than anything control could achieve. So let go, not to abandon, but to allow. Release, not from apathy, but from love. For what is truly yours will never need force to remain. And remember this, healing is not about fixing what is broken. Healing is learning to sit with your pain without judgment. In a culture obsessed with perfection, Buddhism offers a softer truth. You do not need to be flawless to be at peace. You only need to stop abandoning yourself in your suffering. Peace is not the absence of wounds. Peace is the presence of love within the wound. We so often treat our pain like an enemy to be erased. But what if your deepest chaos is not asking to be solved, but to be seen? What if it needs compassion more than correction? Sometimes healing begins not in doing, but in allowing the wounded places inside you to finally breathe. Lesson 5. Self-compassion is true detachment. Something profound happens when you meet your flaws with kindness instead of shame. You soften. You begin to feel safe within yourself. And that safety becomes a quiet glow that others can feel, even without words. Place your hand on your heart for a moment. Feel its steady warmth. Whisper inwardly, even this deserves love. The regret, the fear, the parts I wish would vanish, every piece belongs in the embrace of my own compassion. This is not weakness. It is a profound spiritual strength, because self-compassion is not a passive act. It is the courage to end the silent war inside. Many people carry invisible battles, a harsh inner critic, a voice that shames, a whisper that belittles. We wonder why peace seems distant when within us there is constant conflict. The Buddha once taught, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. That teaching includes the hatred we direct toward ourselves. Ask yourself honestly, where are you still scolding your own inner child? Is it in the voice that insists you are never enough? Or in the judgment that punishes you for not being healed fast enough? What might shift if, instead of silencing your sadness, you listen to it? What if your mistakes didn't define you, but simply rested as part of your story, allowed to exist without becoming your identity? Healing often begins not in fixing, but in holding, not in punishing, but in listening. The moment you treat yourself with the gentleness you freely offer to others, something changes. Your vibration softens, your energy rises, and life begins to mirror back that change, not because the outer world shifted, but because you did. You attract not by being flawless, but by being whole. And wholeness is not the absence of cracks. It is the refusal to abandon any part of yourself. When you love even the mess within you, clarity begins to dawn, like sunlight cutting through morning fog. Remember this truth. You are not too much. You are not too late. You are not beyond repair. You are simply waiting to be gathered into your own arms, held by your own heart. And when you offer that love inwardly, the world cannot help but reflect it back. The universe mirrors your inner dialogue. Every relationship you have may be showing you how you speak to yourself when nobody else is listening. Buddhism reminds us, the world is not separate from the mind. What you nurture inside, you encounter outside, not always instantly, but inevitably. It is said, we do not see others as they are, we see them as we are. Look closely, and you'll notice this pattern. The harsh tone you tolerate within, you also begin to tolerate without. The neglect you show your own needs quietly attracts relationships that overlook them too. This is not blame, it is awareness. The moment you begin to love yourself with quiet conviction, you raise the standard for everything around you. Your self-regard becomes the foundation, and life builds upon it. Picture yourself beside a perfectly still lake. The water reflects you back, not your face, but your voice. What are you saying to yourself in the silence of your own mind? Are you offering encouragement, or are you tearing yourself down before anyone else has the chance? Ask yourself, How do I speak to myself when the world is not listening? Because the truth is, the universe always is. There is a soft but powerful law. Self-love sets the minimum for how others treat you. When you honor your boundaries, others learn to honor them too. When your inner world is spoken to with care, your outer world begins to reflect that tone. And if it doesn't, if someone continues to offer less than what you now give yourself, you will know, without hesitation, that it is time to walk away. Lesson 6. Self-compassion turns chaos into clarity. Life changes not in anger, but in alignment. So ask yourself softly, are you showing the world how to cherish you or how to dismiss you? Each time you silence your needs, each time you swallow your truth, you send a message. This is acceptable. But it isn't. You are worthy of the same tenderness you long to give others, and that worth begins with how you treat yourself. Here's a question that cuts deep. If another person spoke to you the way you speak to yourself, would you stay close to them? Sit with that for a moment. Let it echo inside. If the answer stings, that is not a reason for shame. It is an invitation. The beginning of a new relationship with your own heart. Because you do not attract what you want, you attract what you quietly believe you deserve. So speak to yourself with reverence. Act as if you matter, because you do. And when your inner dialogue changes, your life rearranges itself around that truth. Not perfectly, but profoundly. When self-love becomes the foundation of your thoughts, the universe responds in kind. Peace, in Buddhist wisdom, is not a luxury. It is a frequency. And it is the most magnetic one. Have you noticed how the most peaceful people seem to receive everything they need without rushing, without noise? It is because stillness carries power. Just as calm water reflects the stars without effort, a peaceful heart reflects opportunities without strain. Peace does not declare, I control. Peace whispers, I trust. Inner peace creates room. And in that space, blessings arrive, not forced, not begged for, but welcomed. When fear, clinging, and restlessness no longer crowd your heart, what belongs to you finally has space to enter. Take a slow breath. Imagine sitting in a quiet forest, the trees unmoving, the air tender, the wind soft. You are not proving, you are not striving, you are simply here. And in that stillness, something arises, perhaps a memory, perhaps a truth, or simply the deep recognition that you are already enough. In that awareness, you become magnetic, not to everything, but to what is truly aligned with your soul. Yet many resist peace, not because they don't want it, but because peace reveals too much. Noise becomes a shield. We fill our lives with urgency, distractions, and endless striving, not always to achieve, but often to avoid. Stillness is like a mirror. It reflects everything back to us, even the wounds we try to bury. And while that can be uncomfortable, it is also the only doorway to healing. You can only soften what you have the courage to see. Understand this. The most peaceful souls are not untouched by suffering. They are simply no longer governed by it. Their calmness is born from sitting face to face with fear and choosing not to run. That strength radiates outward, and others feel it instinctively. Opportunities gather around it. Abundance leans toward it. Not because it shouts, but because it rests. So ask yourself with openness, what would life bring if you stopped demanding and started allowing? What if, instead of exhausting yourself, you became spacious? What if, instead of pushing harder, you rested in trust? Peace is not the absence of effort. It is the absence of struggle. It is the quiet decision to let life move toward you while you remain rooted in your being. You are not required to wear yourself out to be worthy. You are not required to force what is already meant for you. Love yourself enough to choose peace within, and the world will begin to mirror it back. And when your inner frequency becomes calm, your outer life begins to harmonize. Not instantly, but inevitably. Lesson 7. The universe reflects your inner dialogue. A calm soul shines without effort. In stillness, you become luminous. In peace, you become magnetic. But notice this: neediness blocks what you long for. Could your hunger for love or validation be the very thing keeping it away? Buddhism teaches that clinging does not invite, it repels. Desire itself is not wrong. It becomes distorted when desperation poisons it. What you grasp tightly slips away, not because the universe is cruel, but because fear and self-abandonment choke the flow. The moment you believe you need something in order to be complete, you've forgotten your wholeness. That forgetting becomes a wall between you and what you seek. And no matter how beautifully you pray, how loudly you ask, the universe hears the vibration of lack more clearly than the sound of your words. Neediness and longing are not the same. Longing can be patient, gentle, open-handed. Neediness is sharp. It whispers, "Without this, I am nothing." That belief builds barriers, not bridges. Close your eyes. Imagine a rope you have been gripping for too long. Maybe it's a relationship, a dream, or a version of yourself you're afraid to lose. Your hands ache, your shoulders are heavy. Now, picture yourself releasing the rope, not out of defeat, but out of trust. Feel the lightness in your palms. Feel the breath return to your chest. That is surrender. It is not weakness. It is the moment life begins to flow again. We often confuse need with love, but true love does not demand or shrink itself. It invites, it welcomes. It is rooted in freedom, not fear. Ask yourself, honestly, where does need disguise itself as love in your life? Is it in the way you chase validation, the way you fear being alone, the way you mold yourself to be chosen? And then ask deeper. Can you trust that what is meant for you will never require you to beg, bend, or betray yourself? What belongs to you will not demand your shrinking. It will meet you where you stand. When you begin to live from self-love, the heavy grip of need dissolves. Self-love says, even if nothing arrives, I am still whole. And from that inner wholeness, life begins to flow toward you, not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped clinging. Space was made. Energy was cleared. Alignment replaced desperation. Need is heavy. It repels. Presence is light. It attracts. When you remember your completeness, your desires stop screaming. They become soft whispers, and whispers are easier for the universe to hear than desperate cries. So breathe, release the rope, rest in your enoughness. The paradox is this: when you no longer beg, you finally begin to receive, not as a test, but as a reflection of your own dignity. The truth is simple. You cannot receive what you are not yet giving to yourself. If you crave loyalty, ask, am I loyal to my own boundaries, my own needs? If you desire peace, ask, do I nourish my mind with peace or feed it on comparison and fear? If you long for abundance, ask, do I live in gratitude or in the shadow of scarcity? The universe is not outside, it is a mirror. It reflects who you are being. So if you call for light, let go of the shadows you cling to. Become the presence you wish to attract. And when you do, life cannot help but echo that presence back to you. Lesson 8. Peace is the strongest frequency. We ask for love, yet abandon ourselves in silence. We pray for clarity while surrounding ourselves with noise. We long to be seen, yet hide behind masks. Peace reminds us that what we chase outwardly is already waiting inwardly. Close your eyes and imagine your future self, not a distant dream, but the version of you who already lives in joy and calm. What thoughts move through their mind? What choices flow from their heart? That self is not far away. It lives within you now, waiting for you to stop resisting and rise to meet it. Often, we betray the very things we say we want. We ask for love while speaking harshly to ourselves. We want to be valued, yet we abandon our own needs. We desire truth, yet we bury our voice beneath performance. Sit with that. not in judgment, but in awakening. For to receive something new, you must embody it. And embodiment does not mean becoming someone else. It means becoming more honest, more open, more aligned. So ask, who must you be today to welcome what you're calling in? Not in the future, not after the perfect plan unfolds, but now, in the small daily acts of honoring yourself. The universe responds not to wishes, but to frequency. And frequency is formed not by wanting, but by being. When you align with peace, life mirrors it, at first quietly, then with undeniable force. Not because it is mystical, but because it is natural. What you radiate, you attract. What you embody, you invite. When you live as love, love recognizes you. When you embody peace, peace seeks you. To step into this, you must let old identities fall away. The self who begged to be chosen, the self who survived by shrinking, the self who apologized for existing. These are not who you are. They were masks shaped by wounds. In Buddhist reflection we learn, for rebirth to happen, the old must return to silence. Not condemned, not erased, simply released. Like a leaf that once carried sunlight, now falling back to the earth. Picture yourself shedding an old skin. Feel it fall away, not with struggle, but with grace. Imagine stepping barefoot into a new morning, the soft air brushing against you. There is no urgency, only remembrance. You were never the wound, never the label, never the story. You are what remains when the story ends. So ask tenderly, what stories are you still clinging to? Are you defining yourself by who left, by what you lost, by how long healing has taken? These stories may once have been true, but you are allowed to outgrow them. The past is not a prison unless you carry the key in your pocket. Ask instead, who am I without the pain? Who am I when I stop living through the old identity? Not incomplete, but unfolding. Not broken, but vast. In Buddhism, death is never the end, it is transformation. And letting the false self die is the most sacred death of all, for it clears the way for your essence to rise. Now imagine bamboo in the wind, silent, flexible, unshaken. Its strength is not in shouting, but in its rootedness. This is true power, quiet confidence. In a world obsessed with noise, self-love becomes an act of rebellion when it no longer seeks approval. You don't need to declare your worth when you are anchored in it. You don't need to chase love when you have become love. Quiet confidence is the energy of those who have returned to themselves. It does not need applause, for its presence speaks louder than any performance. When you embody this presence, you command attention, not through ego, but through essence. So ask yourself, where are you still performing your worth? On social media, in your work, in your relationships? And what would happen if you stopped performing and simply allowed yourself to be enough? Can you let your energy speak louder than your words? Can you trust that presence matters more than performance? People may forget what you say, but they never forget how they felt in your presence. Buddhism teaches the strongest souls are often the quietest, not because they lack power, but because they no longer need to prove it. Their stillness whispers where ego once shouted. Their compassion replaces control. Their silence becomes sacred. So breathe into your stillness. Stand in your quiet confidence. Let your worth be felt without explanation. And remember, when you release desperation, you create space. And in that space, blessings come. Naturally, inevitably. Lesson 9. Become what you wish to receive. Life always reflects back what you are, not what you plead for. If you seek love, then embody love. If you long for abundance, live as though fullness already flows through you. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you radiate. To live aligned with your desires, you must release the old self that clings to wounds and outdated stories. The roles you once wore, the survivor, the pleaser, the one who carried pain, served their purpose, but they cannot guide you into awakening. Real transformation is less about adding more and more about shedding layers. Freedom is not accumulation. It is release. True strength does not need to shout. Real confidence does not parade itself. When you know your worth deeply, you no longer look outward for constant proof. Quiet confidence rises from inner balance, not outer applause. It is steady like the mountain, gentle like the stream, yet unshakable in presence. Love yourself as the universe has always loved you, completely, without condition. You are already enough, even with imperfections. Self-love is not something you earn after fixing yourself. It is something you remember when you return to your true nature. Every moment the universe whispers your sacredness. It is only waiting for you to listen. And when you love yourself fully, not just the polished parts, but also the shadows you've hidden, something profound happens. You stop chasing love, success, or peace because you realize you already carry them within. The world outside no longer feels like a stage for proving your worth. It becomes a mirror reflecting the calm you embody. This is not selfishness, it is self-remembrance. It is the sacred practice of returning to who you truly are, beyond fear, beyond old wounds, beyond the endless hunger for approval. From this place, you attract not by force, but by resonance. The right people, opportunities, and experiences move toward you, not because you grasp, but because you glow. When the mind is clear, joy follows naturally, like a shadow that never leaves. And when your heart is full, life flows without struggle. Pause now and ask yourself, what is one simple way I can show myself unconditional love today? Perhaps it is resting without guilt, speaking kindly to yourself, or forgiving the part of you that once didn't know better. These small acts ripple outward into everything you touch. Remember this truth. The deepest rivers make the least noise, yet they carry the greatest strength. In the same way, when you love yourself enough to stop performing, you begin attracting effortlessly. Not because you chase attention, but because your energy speaks louder than words. That is the way of true power, the quiet, undeniable presence of one who has returned home to themselves. Lesson 10. Let the old you die to live free. Buddhism teaches that even in your darkest hours, your true nature remains untouched, like the sun hidden behind clouds. Clouds may cover it, storms may rage, but the radiance is never gone. When you begin to see yourself through this lens, life no longer feels like a puzzle to solve. It becomes a dance to join. You do not need to fight for belonging. You already belong. Pause for a moment. Close your eyes. Imagine the vast universe bowing before you, not because you are flawless, but because you are whole. The stars never ask you to earn your shine. The rivers never question their flow. The trees never debate their worth. They simply exist, and in their being, they are honored. Can you offer yourself that same reverence? Ask yourself with gentleness, can I give my own heart the respect I keep hoping to receive from others? Can I stop demanding proof of my worth and simply embody it? The next time you stand before a mirror, look past the lines, the flaws, the scars. See instead the light that never left you. Can you stop waiting for permission to love the person you already are, and dare to love yourself even deeper? What if nothing was missing in you? How would your words change? How would you move through your day? How would you carry yourself, not from emptiness, but from fullness? When you love yourself in the same way the universe does, unconditionally, you stop chasing reflections of lack. You begin to welcome experiences that honor your wholeness. You no longer seek fixing, saving, or proving. You simply are. Present. Radiant. Enough. This is the kind of love that transforms not by force, but by remembrance. To love yourself enough to bow to your own soul. To love yourself enough to stop apologizing for existing. When you align with your true nature, the universe does not resist you. It walks beside you. It mirrors you. It opens to you. And suddenly, the things you thought you had to beg for arrive on their own. Not as rewards, but as recognition of what has always lived within you. You've walked through 10 lessons of Buddhist wisdom, not rules to follow, but invitations to live differently. Each teaching whispers the same truth: you are already enough. Your peace, your love, your worth. None of it has ever been missing. It was only waiting for you to remember. Think about it: chasing, clinging, self-doubt, noise, desperation. All of these are masks. And the moment you remove them, what remains is clarity. What remains is presence. What remains is the real you, the one who doesn't have to beg life to arrive, because life is already flowing through you. The Buddha taught that peace is not found in distant places, but in the very heart that seeks it. When you love yourself, you stop searching for completion in the outside world. You become the mirror that reflects love, peace, and abundance outward. And the universe, always listening, begins to respond in kind. So let this be your reminder. You do not need to fix yourself to be worthy. You only need to stop abandoning yourself. Love yourself as deeply as the universe already loves you. Respect yourself as profoundly as you wish the world to respect you. And when you do, you'll find that the very things you've been chasing will begin to find you, naturally, quietly, inevitably. If these teachings spoke to you, let this be your moment of practice. Leave a reflection in the comments. What is one small act of self-love you will carry into today? Your words may be the light someone else needs to hear. And if you'd like to keep walking this path of wisdom and inner peace, subscribe and join this community. Each video here is not just content. It's a doorway to calm, to clarity, to the truth of who you really are. Remember, you are not here to prove your worth. You are here to live it. And when you live it, the whole universe rises to meet you.